So let's start with the big story that we are tracking on WION at this hour. Now, the war in the Gaza Strip has now entered into its fourth week, and the Israeli Prime Minister has gone on and said that there is no possibility of a ceasefire at this moment because this, according to Netanyahu, is a time for war. The Israeli Defense Forces have said that they've struck at least about 600 targets that they've identified. The war has resulted in more than 8,600 Palestinian deaths. Now, these, remember, the death toll of the Palestinian, remember, is counted on the basis of bodies that are pulled out from underneath the rubble. There are still more than 1,500 of the bodies that are still under the rubble that haven't been rescued yet. And almost about 40% of all casualties are said to be young children. The latest footage that's been released by the IDF shows columns of Israeli tanks and bulldozers taking positions on the southern fringes of Gaza City. The armoured vehicles block the main north-south highway, with snipers taking positions in empty residential buildings. Now, Hamas claims that it damaged 2 Israeli armoured vehicles with anti-tank weapons to deny the Israelis a foothold on the periphery of Gaza. In a further escalation along the Israel-Lebanon border, Lebanon's Hezbollah has downed an Israeli drone. The Israeli military claims that it struck a Syrian military infrastructure after rocket launches from the Syrian territory. Echoing the statements of White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has reiterated his rejection of a ceasefire. He said that Israel's ground offensive stood more chance of securing the release of over 200 hostages who are presently in Hamas's custody, but people within Israel do not agree with their Prime Minister. They are demanding for accountability, they are demanding for justice, and they say that it is the job of the Israeli Prime Minister to bring back the hostages who at this moment are in Hamas's custody.
Just as the United States would not agree to a ceasefire after the bombing of Pearl Harbor or after the terrorist attack of 9/11, Israel will not agree to a cessation of hostilities with Hamas after the horrific attacks of October 7th. Calls for a ceasefire are calls for Israel to surrender to Hamas, to surrender to terrorism, to surrender to barbarism. That will not happen.
Now, the IDF has said that it has managed to free a woman Israeli soldier who was in the captivity of Hamas. The soldier, who goes by the name Ori Megadish, was reportedly freed during its ground operations. He was taken captive by Hamas on the 7th of October. The rescued soldier has in fact undergone medical checks and is said to be doing well. The IDF has not divulged more details about the circumstances of her release. The Kogat, which implements the Israeli civilian policy in West Bank, has confirmed that 39 trucks carrying humanitarian aid have entered into the Gaza Strip on Monday, bringing the current tally of trucks to 171 trucks since the beginning of this conflict. But many human rights activists say that this is nothing more than a drop in the ocean for a population of 2.3 million people who have been denied access to food, water, electricity and other supplies since the 8th of October onwards for more than 23 days now. This level of aid is just simply, it means nothing. It's a token aid that is being sent in. The following a day of intense protests in Dagestan's Matskila airport in Russia, President Vladimir Putin has slammed the United States. He has squarely accused the West of orchestrating what he has termed as deadly chaos in the Middle East. And he's also said that the United States, with its flawed policies, is the one that is fomenting trouble in the Middle East.
На недавней встрече с лидерами религиозных объединений, как вы знаете, говорил уже о попытках использовать драматическую ситуацию на Ближнем Востоке, другие региональные конфликты против нашей страны, против России, для дестабилизации и раскола нашего многонационального и многоконфессионального общества. Для этого применяют самые разные средства, как мы видим, и ложь, и провокации, и изощренные технологии психологической и информационной агрессии.
An inadvertent effect of the Gaza crisis has been a rise in the instances of anti-Semitism. The Anti-Defamation League has now reported nearly about quite a few spikes in anti-Semitic incidents in the United States, with about 312 incidents being reported from the 7th till the 23rd of October, and about 190 of them directly linked to the Israel-Hamas war. The Biden administration has now come out to express its concerns over reports of anti-Semitic threats at the Cornell University arising from the Gaza crisis. The press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, told the reporters that the White House is in touch with the Jewish leaders at the university, and early on Monday, certain Jewish students from the Columbia University held a press conference calling on the administration to support students who are facing anti-Semitism. In China, meanwhile, internet users are reporting that Israel's name seems to have disappeared from leading digital maps, namely ones on Baidu and Alibaba's websites. While the Chinese language online maps demarcate the internationally recognized borders of Israel, the maps do not clearly identify the country by name.